Infinite Looper 1.1 is now available. The app has just gone universal. It's now available for the iPhone and iPad. And we also have a new version called Aleph Looper, which is for the iPhone alone. The app is designed for MIDI looping, song construction, and is designed to work with full-featured DAWs on your desktop. In this video, we'll cover some of the new features and talk about MIDI connections. So first off, here's the iPhone, and we've got a new interface. It's a little bit smaller, but everything should fit. We'll open up a project, and here you have the screen on an iPhone 5S. A little bit tight, but we've got some things that can move around to give you some space to work. First off, you can move the lower panel down, move that out of the way to get access to more loops. And we also have a button that will shift left and right so you can see all 6 different instruments that are available in Infinite Looper. To get a little more space on the screen, there's a button that will move the top controls out of the way. When they move out of the way, there will be additional play and record buttons that appear towards the bottom, so you still have access to these controls. With the iPad version, if you want to get to the piano roll, simply long press on any of the loops, and that carries over to the iPhone version. We're not going to show it here in this video, just to give you a quick walkthrough. There's a number of different panels. You've got the piano screen that does what you'd expect it to do. Tap on the button to bring around the pad screen. We have 10 pages of pads, each one of them configurable to different chords or notes. There's also a mixer. So each of the 6 tracks have a mixer and pan for the left and right channels. And we have the arranger here. We talked about this a little bit more in detail in an earlier video, and you can read more about this online. There's also the MIDI input screen. You can control which channel Infinite Looper listens to MIDI on. And there are a few more things that we'll talk about later. And finally, the file dialog page has a new option to duplicate an existing project. So if you want to build a template to a current song, or make another copy if you're going to experiment, you can make a duplicate very easily. With support for both the iPhone and iPad, you might want to be able to send a file from one iOS device to another, and with iOS, this is very easy to do. Simply select your project, tap the Export Project button, and a dialog will open up that will let you send the file from one device to another. Tap the device that should show up in AirDrop, and it'll be sent over your local Wi-Fi directly from one device to another. This is what's happening on the iPad. And then if we look over on the iPhone side of things, a pop-up will happen automatically. The file will be downloaded to the device, and then you can bring it into Infinite Looper or Aleph Looper. Once you've done that, simply go to the file page there, and you can see the file that came in, open it up, and continue to work. On the iPhone and iPad, the files are identical, so you should be able to move a project back and forth with great ease. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about MIDI connections and how to connect the iOS device to your desktop Mac or PC DAW. Music.io is an app that runs on iOS and has clients on either the PC or the Mac, and it will send MIDI and audio directly between devices with no additional hardware, just the USB sync cable. We're part of the developing team on this project, and it works great. Here I'll show you how to set it up with Infinite Looper. What you can do is turn off internal MIDI in Infinite Looper, and then select Music.io as a destination, as an external MIDI. Here we've got channel 1 and channel 2 set up, and then we'll page over and go to the drum track. Drums are usually on channel 10 in MIDI, so that's what we're going to do here. A long press on this dialog will bring up channel selection. We'll pick 10, and then we've got our drums on channel 10. Now we're going to switch over to the Logic side of things. There are a couple of things to do in order to get multi-track MIDI recording to work correctly. First off, in Logic, under the project settings, turn on Auto Demix by Channel if multi-track recording. If you don't have this on, all the MIDI on all channels will be sent to one destination, and that's definitely not what you want. The next thing to do is to select MIDI channels for each of the instruments in Logic. Here we've got the Voxbox lead from Alchemy set to channel 1. The drums from the 70 kits above are set to channel 10. Note that we have both of these tracks set to record MIDI. If you have only one track set to record MIDI, Logic will send all the MIDI to that one track, and again, that's not what you want to get things to work the way you expect. So let's do a quick demo. Here we've got Infinite Looper with a drum track sequence, and we've got Logic in the background. The drum loop is being played using Music.io, sending the MIDI from Infinite Looper into Logic. Now we're playing the on-screen controls on the pad screen of Infinite Looper. It's a very low latency connection, and it's designed for the two things to work together seamlessly. We're not sending audio using Music.io, but we could do that. Music.io is available in the App Store, and it's a joint effort between the Secret-Based Design team, the folks at Audionic Apps, and also Confusion Studios, who make MIDI Bridge and MIDI Designer respectively. One of the unique features of Infinite Looper is the song arrangement mode, where you can sequence a series of loops to have verse, chorus, and so on to build up a complete song. While you can play the MIDI live and have it recorded elsewhere, you can also send out a complete MIDI file that you can just drag into any DAW. Here we click on the Export MIDI button, and the complete arrangement is sent to Dropbox, and we can move it to wherever we want it to go. Infinite Looper can also connect to external MIDI hardware. So in this section, we'll use an M-Audio keyboard, a Casio VZ8M, and we've got an FCB 1010 down on the floor. We're using the keyboard to play through Infinite Looper to control the Casio, and some 80s-tastic synth sounds there. Turn on the sequencer, and so this is Infinite Looper just playing a couple loops, and now we can play live while we're on top of it. All of the audio is being recorded by the Focusrite in a fairly standard manner. In addition to wired MIDI, you can also send MIDI over Bluetooth LE. Secret-Based Design is the developer of Apollo MIDI over Bluetooth, which was the first MIDI over Bluetooth app available for iOS. About a year later, Apple came up with their solution, but we still think that Apollo is more convenient and easier to configure. We've got it running here on an iPhone, and it's connected to the iPad that you see in the background. We're going to play a little bit of live guitar. The MIDI is going over Bluetooth from the iPhone to the iPad in the background and being recorded on the iPad. The sounds you're hearing come from the synthesis engine in Infinite Looper, so it's just a sampled instrument, and when played correctly, sounds fairly realistic. If you prefer using a real instrument, like a guitar, there are solutions for this as well. One of our earlier apps is an audio to MIDI conversion app called Midi Morphosis, which will let you take an ordinary guitar and then have the sound translated into MIDI and sent to whatever app you wish to. Here we're playing a couple of riffs off of some Star Wars stuff, and this is being converted live in software. All you need is simply a good audio interface for the guitar and an iPad, and you can do this conversion. The MIDI can then be sent to Infinite Looper. One of the things to take note is that with audio to MIDI conversion, there's a bit of latency. We've planned for this in Infinite Looper by having incoming latency adjustment. So you can compensate for delays from Bluetooth MIDI, Wi-Fi MIDI, or the time it takes to convert audio to MIDI by adjusting where the notes are recorded. This will shift slightly in time where the notes are registered for recording of loops. To finish up with, you can also create custom MIDI controllers that will control both Infinite Looper and Midi Morphosis. Both of these apps have MIDI Learn, so we've got a little interface for Midi Looper, another one for Midi Morphosis to turn things on and off. This is all knocked together fairly quickly using MIDI Designer Pro from our friends at MIDI Designer. And that covers the basics of Infinite Looper and Aleph Looper version 1.1. The app is available now in the iTunes Store.